Welcome to American Players Theater Talkbacks to Go. I'm Buzz Kemper, and I invite you to take a walk up the hill with Orange Schroeder and me as Orange chats with director Brenda DeVita and actor Sarah Day about APT's production of The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion.
We're talking about The Year of Magical Thinking, and we are here with Brenda DeVita, who is directing the play, and Sarah Day, who is playing Joan. This is a one-woman show, and that has its own challenges, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the play is a meditation on grief, I've been reading, and I've read The Year of Magical Thinking. It's a wonderful book, and I understand that Joan Didion adapted it for the stage herself, with Vanessa Redgrave playing the main character. And Brenda, as a theater professional, what do you think of her adaptation?
Actually, I read the play first, which was very unusual. Most people read the book, and I wasn't. I talked about this a little bit at the director's chat in early May. That I read the play first, and I fell in love with the writing. And then I went and read the book, and I actually loved the play because for me, the kind of sparseness and the kind of it's a lot. I would not be able to sit down and read that book all at one sitting or over a weekend. I'd have to take time with that book because it is such a deep and thick, movement through that kind of pain that I just want to just parse it out for myself. So I love the play. The play is kind of a condensed version of that kind of the kind of searing pain she was going through, kind of the dulling of it as well. And I'm really excited that the play offers us the story without having to go through the whole of it. I think the venue actually lends itself to us experiencing that book in a very visceral way because it's dramatic and Sarah, her interpretation of this is what makes it's so compelling. The writing for me a lot was when I got asked to read this play, I had a really hard time with the notion that she couldn't just get on with it. I found myself judging Joan in a really unflattering way. I mean, I was not very nice about it. And I kept that to myself for a while. But I literally did, I literally thought, come on, you got to buck up here. You got to get yourself together here. I would have those thoughts through it. And then what was beautiful about it is that what I learned about it is everybody has to grieve in their own way. And this idea that there's a way to grieve or a way to get through something that painful is really selfish on my part and particular to me. I'm sure, and everyone has their version of that, but I wouldn't grieve like that, I don't think. But who the heck knows how I'd grieve, in that circumstance. So that's the point of the piece, I think, is this will happen to you, and it will happen to you in whatever way it does, and how you need to deal with it is your own personal journey. So the book was hard for me. On many levels, and the obvious one, it being such a difficult subject matter.
Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm really fascinated by her writing. I've always been quite drawn to it. I think she's very sparse with her writing. When she's writing a novel, or in this case, a sort of memoir, but this takes it down to a real poetic level. And I think that the way that she has adapted her own words and really streamlined them is beautifully done. She really lets extraneous things go. She manipulates her own story from the Year of Magical Thinking a little bit, just little different circumstances. As an actor, as I'm reading through it, going, why would she have made the choice to change that little thing? And sort of hooking into what thought process she would be going through with making those changes has been really exhilarating, actually, as trying to get down to the bone the way that I think she is. I think she has a really wonderful, specific, and universal story to tell. And I'm glad that we get a chance to share it with our audiences.
Do you think that audience members who are not familiar with Didion's work, the way that you are, will they have the same experience that you have?
very, very straightforwardly can say, I don't know. I don't know. I think that this is I think it's a piece that will be intriguing to some, and I'm not sure that this is everybody's cup of tea. It's we've been going through the thing of trying to say, I'm not really sure all the time if this is a play, that it's more of a memoir or a meditation or a conversation with the audience, and that she is a woman who is coming in front of a group of people to try and understand, to try and guide them, to help them, but also be in conversation and communion with them about what it was that she has done. Does this make sense in the world? Have I been perceiving the world in the right sort of way? So she's in communion with the audience as well as with her own thoughts and with her own process of grieving. And I think that's what makes it sort of an intriguing story.
Well, and wouldn't you agree that we all avoid grieving? We don't have a way of showing that we're in mourning. We don't observe a year of wearing a black armband, or, we say to people, how are you doing?
Yeah, and we also not just avoid it, we actually act as if it would be really, really ridiculous to grieve. I mean, how many stories do you hear about, she was so strong. I was so admire that woman. She had such grace. And I think that that's what I was in my own version when I say to myself I was judgmental of Joan's grieving, is that we just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to bring everybody down, so, and we don't have a formal way of actually, we don't have cultural ways of dealing with it. So I feel like what I have loved about it is I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but I also think that that's the point. I don't think that her story, what I meant about judging is that I don't think that her story is everyone's story, but that's just it. That if you lose everybody you love, if you lose someone you love, you lose your only partner in the world, that is your life, your career, as well as your partner. How will you be about it? And I think that we have an idea about how we think we'd like to be. I like to call it my husband and I say it's the if I had been German during World War II, I hope I would have been the person that would have, helped the people that needed help, and and smuggle people out and risk my own life. And we would like to think that that's who we'd be. We have no idea who we'd be. And those stories that make us say, stop judging those people. Stop judging her grief. Stop judging the way she has to live her life right now. And in this magical thinking, the way she has to be in order to survive, to choose to live. That's the point of the piece. And I think it will be, people will find themselves really, really moved or really, really inspired by it. And people will be really, really upset by it, I think. And people will be really, really angry with her. And people will go through all of those things. And I think it's about themselves as much as anything. I mean, it's just, you're sitting there with her. And if you can't be with her and really give her your attention when she needs it and go through it with her, then I wonder what that means for you.
And Sarah, it must be a challenge for you to be the only person on stage and to hold their interest.
Yes, I'm scared about that.
Nicely put.
But you've done other one-woman shows,
yes,
and very successfully. So I'm sure that this will work too.
I did one other, and it was with the other half of the DeVita family. So I'm really looking forward and scared to death of this challenge.
And I understand that you don't move much.
We changed some blocking today. She wasn't moving until page 17, and now she got up today, I think, on page 9, or something like that. But
we did take the dance number out.
Oh yeah,
and there's no striptease.
Juggling, yes, with the audience, the fire juggling. The point of it, the point that we had was, I said to Sarah, I really want you on stage, talking to the audience, and so I want you to show up every night. And wherever you are and who you are in that day. We say that about acting all the time. Bring who you are to the day. You can't extract yourself. You can't eliminate that from yourself. You can't separate yourself. But this really is. We've kind of made her not literally naked, but that might be good for ticket sales. No, but quite. but seriously, emotionally naked, and we don't have a lot of light tricks or a lot of sound tricks, or it's a blank stage with Sarah on it in a chair talking to you.
So there will not be much in the way of costuming or set design or whatever. It's
We went through a long process of eliminating set. We had a lot of set for a while. We had an idea. I'd started with this idea of I don't know why, but this kind of dock that went nowhere out in the middle of the water. And like, that's what it felt to me, kind of bereft and kind of searching for shore, kind of, safely on this platform in the middle of nowhere. So we went from a literal dock to a dock flying in the air and the beach chairs in the air. I mean, we went through, because a lot of it takes place in her mind in Malibu, where she splits her life between the East and West Coast. And it's a lot of water images. And then we got down to where we got, which was some platforming that looked as if it's floating a little suggests. And then her chair, which I love the story of the chair. Tell them the story of the chair.
Well, Brenda said, I think we should go shopping for a chair. So maybe we'll go to a couple places, maybe on the west side, maybe a couple furniture stores. And I go, I got a couple chairs at my house we might want to look at. Because she was saying things that were sort of mid-century modern. And I live on the west side of Madison in a mid-century modern home. And there's one chair that I've always sort of been in. And then I'm like, what do you think of this? And so she's like, this seems perfect.
It was perfect.
So that it's the idea that it's from my house makes it sort of and it's sort of a little bit of a chair that seems to envelop just a little bit. It feels as though I'm being held.
It's a glorious chair.
It's just.
But it comes from her home, and I'm going to say a couple things about Sarah. It comes from her home that she lives in her childhood home. Sarah's parents, she was an only child, grew up with her parents. And one of the reasons we decided we wanted to do this play together was that Sarah's gone through an incredible amount of loss in the last few years of her life, and lost both of her parents and her home through the flood here a few years ago. And it's just been a time where I've watched Sarah simplify, I always get these images of fire. I don't know why, like it burnt off. Everything's just kind of burning away. And to get to what's really important for her. And it's been an amazing thing to watch from the outside for those of us that have been around Sarah. And she was just at a place in her life where we wanted to step into this.
So, Sarah, you won't be portraying the famous author Joan Didion in this. You'll be playing whom?
I am playing a character that is considered Joan, but it's not specifically Joan Didion. It's trying to be a little more universal than that, I guess. I think that I'm Sarah Joan, or Joan Sarah, and bringing my own energy to the text that she's given us that is luminous. And if I can have a tiny little candle that helps to illuminate her words, I'll be very, very grateful. Speaking of fire. It's Sarah Joan.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, I think that we were talking before about if anyone knows Joan Didion, you can't help but have the photos of her very, 1960s, career woman, writer, enigmatic, her glasses, her hair, her cigarettes. And I mean, she was and she didn't talk a lot. So the visual of her is stunning. I mean, it sticks with you because it's kind of this whole persona. And that's a really hard thing to step into, not imitate, we just don't want to do an imitation of her. We want to bring what is true about her story to life through Sarah. And I think that this filter of Sarah is a pretty amazing one to watch it through.
And I'm sure it will be a magical evening. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Talkbacks to Go is a production of Orange Tree Imports, Pro Video and Film, and Audio for the Arts. Your host is Oren Schroeder. I'm Buzz Kemper. Our music is by Steve Tibbetts and is used by permission of the artist. Please find us on iTunes and YouTube under APT Talkbacks to Go. Thank you for listening.